If you or your client is working in recruiting, then you know how challenging and tedious it can be to find profitable niches, right? And what if instead of scrolling through LinkedIn and then going through each and every one of those postings and trying to find interesting niches, you would just have a dashboard like this, which is based on actual data from these kinds of platforms like Indeed, for instance, or LinkedIn, or whatever you can imagine, and then have an AI analysis just like this one, which already gives you all the information that you would want to have, including like target companies, target industries, and even a contact strategy, right? And I'm going to show you within this n8n tutorial how you can actually build an automated platform like this one, and all of this will be done via n8n. All right, so I am within n8n right now. I just created a new flow for this, and the first thing that I want to do is to look for a schedule trigger, and this can run as often as you'd like, obviously, and this is actually going to run, like every day would probably be a regular interval that's appropriate for this kind of use case. Then the next node that we're going to use is the Apify trigger, or rather the Apify action node. And within Apify, I'm going to select the action run an actor and get dataset. And if you are not familiar with Apify, I'm going to jump into its settings in a second. So the first thing that we actually need for this is, first of all, to have an Apify account, and I'm going to show you where you can get this. And then the resource will be an actor, and an actor is basically nothing but a specific scraper. And the operation would be the one that we just used, which is to run an actor and get dataset. This is the setting. And then within the actor source, the actor that I'm going to use is called the Indeed scraper, right? And if I look for this, then within my account, I have access to all the ones that I have saved within my Apify account, and I'm going to show you this in a second. Now, the next thing is that we need some input for the scraper, so that it's actually aware of or knows what it's supposed to look for. So what I'm going to do is to go into my Apify account, and if you're not familiar with Apify, it's basically a scraping platform which offers you different kinds of actors, which allows you to scrape almost any kind of platform that you like. At the time of this recording, I believe there are like more than 23,000 different kinds of actors for different kinds of platforms with different kinds of accesses to specific KPIs, to specific data points that you can have access to. And as you can already see, there are a lot of scrapers that you can use, and basically each and every one of those scrapers works on its own. So you can create a free account on Apify. You will get a $5 credit every month that you can basically spend as credits on a specific actors of your liking. And the one that I chose, as I've already mentioned, is the Indeed scraper, and there are multiple, and the ones that I chose was this Indeed job scraper, as you can see right here, because it is quite cheap, as you can see, so just 10 cents per 1,000 results, right? So this gives you the ability to look for a lot of data. And if you want to get more into Apify itself, then I have a dedicated tutorial on this, and feel free to check that out. All right, so we are going to work with this specific scraper, and instead of using the form right here, I am going to switch to the JSON view. So I am within the input tab right now, and I'm going to switch to the JSON view, and here you can already see a JSON template, if you will, and this is quite self-explanatory. So I'm going to look for jobs that were posted within the last 7 days. The limit of the results that I want to have is, I just set it to 50, and you can set this to 500 or 1,000, whatever you prefer. And then obviously also the job title, right? That's supposed to be the reference for your niche analysis, right? And you can take something like really generic, doesn't have to be software engineer, obviously. And this is the JSON template that I'm going to take, and then I'm going back into n8n. And within n8n, I'm just going to select the double curly braces that you see right here, and I'm going to paste exactly the ones that I just mentioned. So for the time being, I'm actually going to limit it to 20 entries, and then also I'm going to set a country, and I'm just going to set it to the US. So that's just for the time being and just as an example. And that's actually already it. So this will actually give us the possibility to run this actor from within n8n and then also get the according data. So let's also try this, and I'm just going to run this right now. I'm going to execute the workflow, and let's just see what happens. All right, and I just received 20 items. I'm going to jump into the node itself, and now on the right-hand side, you can see what kind of data this gave us. And here you can see that we are actually getting a lot of data. You can probably see this from my scroll bar right here, that this is actually giving us a lot of data that we can work with. So there are certain kinds of attributes associated with this specific search term from a specific posting, right? Then also there are employer attributes and whatnot. You can imagine benefits and whatever you can imagine. And then obviously also the actual description, right? And all the base salary data sometimes is also provided. So basically exactly the data that you would expect from Indeed. All right, the next step is that I want to actually, and if you jump into the table view, then you can see, and also based on the remark right here, that you can see that there are actually 20 items, right? So in the schema view within n8n, you would just get an overview of what you have access to, and then within the table, you can take a look into the actual data itself, right? So if I scroll down here, then you can see that this is the first entry in the first row, then this is the second entry, and this will go up until 20 items, right? So I want to actually now take all of those 20 items, and then I want to pass them on to an AI agent or an AI analysis, basically, which will then conduct its analysis based on that specific data, right? So what I need to do is to first of all bundle all those 20 items, because if I added an AI agent or an AI node right after this, then all of those 20 items would go through the whole executions one by one, so and this would basically only pass on the specific job entry into the LLM one by one. And this is not what we want, right? We want to have a bundled, cohesive set of data that we're going to pass on as a whole onto the AI agent so that it is able to conduct its analysis based on that specific bundled data. So what I'm going to look for instead within the action nodes is the aggregate node right here. And if I open this up, then you can see that they are basically confronting you with those two options only. So the aggregate field, how it's supposed to aggregate, and if I want to choose individual fields, or if I just want to take all of that data. And I indeed want to select specifically what kinds of data points I want to extract from the previous node, because otherwise, if I took everything, then this would actually be, and you can see this on the left-hand side, a lot of data that I would need to pass on to the LLM, and that would be spending a lot of tokens. And the fields that I want to work with, I'm going to choose individual fields, and then the specific field that I want to work with will actually be the very last field at the bottom for the text description of the actual job posting first. And then the second thing will be the title of the job. So I'm just going to look for a title right here, and then this will also already give me the data point that I want to have. So I'm just going to add a field to aggregate, and then I'm going to drag and drop this into the input field right here. Perfect. That's already it in this regard. All right, so let's execute this step and see what this gives us. And here you can already see that first of all, I get a lot of data. So the data is still the same on the one hand, but on the other hand, I only have one item that I am able to pass on right into the LLM. And this is exactly what I'm going to do. And here you can already see. So it came in with 20 items and then it output only one item. All right, so the next step is that we actually want to integrate an AI agent already. So I'm going to click on the next connector. I'm going to choose the AI section, and I'm going to choose the AI agent for this. Now, this will, first of all, give me a couple of options. And on the bottom right here, I am going to add a system message, add a system prompt right here. And I'm going to delete this one, and I'm going to paste the one that I have prepared. And we are going to take a look at this really quickly. So you are a market intelligent analyst specializing in identifying underserved job market niches. Analyze the aggregated job posting data to identify demand trends, competition gaps, and calculate demand volume versus competition score. Focus on finding niches with high demand but low competition. For each niche, provide lead sourcing suggestions, including target companies, industries, and contact strategies. And by the way, you will get all of the data that you see right here, including prompts or data table templates, whatever, in my school community, and you will find the link in the description. All right, and the next thing is that I'm going to use this user prompt right here, and I have just already pasted this into the according field. And the way this works is that I have the titles at the very top, so I'm just going to use the title variable from the previous aggregate node right here. I'm going to drag and drop it into this field, into this place right here, and this will basically just give me a bundle of all the jobs that of the job titles that I have just scraped, right? Now, in regards to the job descriptions, I also am just using the text, as you can see right here, but what I did was just to have a little more separation between these different kinds of job descriptions, so that the agent, or the LLM rather, knows exactly where one job description starts and the next one begins. Just, for context's sake, I'm using a map function for this, or a map expression, as you can see. And within this map function, I have the ability to add a function to each and every one of those elements, right? And you can see this from this arrow right here that you see between those item and item descriptions. And this enables me basically to add another layer, if you will, or another separator between those job titles, right? Or these job descriptions rather. And you see these backslash and then n and then again backslash and n. This just means a new line, So the way this works is, and then I use the term next job, and this is actually just going to separate the previous job from the next job just by using, first of all, a new line before and after the next job, and then the term next job as well, right? And you can do whatever you want. You could also use just dashes or something like this, then it would basically look different, so it would just be separated by this. I chose next job, but this is obviously your choice. All right, so this is already it in this regard. So I'm going to close this, and I also am going to execute this step right here, and let's just see what this gives us. And I just got this message right here because obviously I need to connect a chat model to the specific agent. I'm going to close this for a second, and here you can see that I indeed did not attach the chat model. So I am going to look for Open Router, which has become my personal default. And this is connected to my Open Router and to my Open Router account, right? And in that, I can actually choose between all the different kinds of models that are out there basically currently today. And since this is a lot of data, I am going to look for something cheap. So let's look for DeepSeek or something comparable, which is going to be fast and cheap. I'm just going to choose 3.2 for this. And let's try this again. So I'm going to jump into my agent and execute this step. And let's just see what this gives us. All right, and now it's done, and it has returned this output variable right here, including this text. And within the table, we can see that this is actually a lot of data and a lot of analytic outcome that we have received, which is quite nice. However, there's a problem actually, because if I jump back into the schema view, just so you can see better, is that I only have this output variable once, right? And I actually want to output all that data into a structured format like this one, right? So I have a couple of columns right here, and then I have all these different kinds of fields that I want to work with, and they are supposed to be a part of this, right? And within my account right here, then there you can see that I can't actually access all of the data individually. So what I need to do is that I'm going to jump into the settings right here, or rather in the parameters view, it's actually that I need to require a specific output format. And if I choose this, then you can see on the bottom right here that this is going to give me a fourth connector on the bottom right here, which is called output parser. And this is exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm going to choose the output parser right here, and then I'm going to choose the structured output parser. And if I do this, then you can see that I get this JSON template right here, and this is giving me a way how I can add a schema type or a schema example from a specific JSON format that I want to adhere the agent to, you know. And I already have prepared this as well. So I'm going to select the template that you can see here, and then I'm going to paste this right in here. And I'm going to open this up just to show you what this is actually supposed to be looking like at the end of the day. And this might look rather complex. You don't have to do it like this. But again, you know, you just can throw this into any LLM that you like, and this will give you a suggestion for a template based on what you want the output to be. All right, so this is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to actually choose from output defined using schema. So this is the second option right here. So I'm not going to use the example. I'm going to define the JSON schema right here. I'm going to paste this again. And this is now the actual correct setting. Now I am going to jump back into the agent itself. And now I'm going to let it run again. And let's just see what this gives us the second time. So I'm going to execute this step right here. And let's see what happens now. All right, and now it's done, and now you can actually see from with this green border with the check mark that it did use the structured output parser. So it is supposed to adhere to the format, to the JSON schema, to the JSON format we gave it. And I'm going to open up the agent. So let's take a look into the output. And now you can actually see that before we had this complete text within only this output variable. And now this is actually giving us a real dedicated and separated JSON schema where we are able to access all these specific parameters that we asked for. Perfect. So this has worked great. And now the only thing left for us to do is to put this into our Google Sheet. Now, one thing we need to be aware of, if we jump into the output again, then you can see that within this niches list right here, you can see that there are a couple of niches right there because we asked for this actually, that this is giving us, right? And we now actually want to have all the niches within a separate row. So how do we do this? Because actually currently we only have one item again. So if we passed this on to a simple append a row Google Sheets node, then this would be within all within one row, right? And this wouldn't give us the ability to basically have a look at all the different kinds of niches individually. So what we need to do again is to basically use the opposite of this aggregate node again. So after this, we are now going to look for a split out node. So if I open this up, then this is now asking me exactly like we did within the aggregate node, how we want or which fields we want to use to split out. And this is quite easy because, as I've mentioned before, we have different kinds of niches, but within this niches array right here, we just need to drag and drop this field into the fields to split out, because this will then separate each and every one of those niches that we see listed right here into individual items. Perfect. So let's execute this step. And let's just see what happens. And now you can see that this is actually giving me 6 items because we have 6 different kinds of niches. And within the table view, we can actually take a look into the data itself. Perfect. All right, now the next node that we are going to add is going to be more like a preparation to put all of that data nicely into Google Sheets. You don't have to use that step. You can use a Google Sheets node immediately right after the split out node. But, you know, for clarity's sake, it is best practice to do it this way. And the node that we are going to use for this is the edit fields set node. So I look for set, and now I'm actually going to add a couple of parameters right here. So the first field, the first variable that I want to define is the timestamp, right? And what I want to do with this is to give it a value of now. And what I can do to achieve this is that I'm going to open up double curly braces and then a $sign. And then this is basically giving me access to different kinds of functions, to different kinds of methods that I can use dynamically within this specific field, right? And I'm going to look for the now method right here. And this is actually giving me a date time representing the current moment. And you can actually see this, right? So this is the exact moment that we have right here. Now, I also want to put this into a more readable format. So I'm going to look for the ISO format, and then this is giving me, or rather the receiving database, a more precise and more readable format. Perfect. So this has worked as well. And then I am actually going to look for the next parameter. So I'm going to call this niche, and this is actually just a drag and drop thing because now I just need to use the name parameter from the split out node, drag and drop it into this right here, and now the niche variable is going to represent the actual name of that niche. All right, now the next field is actually going to be the demand score. I'm just going to write this out right here. And so instead of you having to watch me dragging and dropping a couple of fields from the left to the right, I'm just going to do this really quickly by myself. All right, now this is done as well, and as you can see, this is just a dragging and dropping of the fields from the left to the right. Now, there are some remarks on this. So first of all, if you take a look at the top skills right here, then you can see that I also just took the top skills array right here. And if I just dragged and dropped that value right into the according field, as you can see right here, then this is giving me this weird looking array syntax, right? Now, it's not that the agent wouldn't be able to read this, but we are going to pass this on to the right into the Google Sheets, right? So this is something that we would later on look at, right? So it is a best practice to use something like a join method. So I'm going to put in the period and then use the join method. And this basically means that the items within the array will be joined into a cohesive string. And then within the parentheses, as you can see, within the double quotes, I am able to identify or use the separator between those single items. And as you can see, if I open this up really quickly, then you can see that this is now the value that we have received from the very first item, as you can see right here. And then this is separated by a comma, and then you have the next term, which is coming from here, and so on and so forth, right? So this is giving you an elegant solution how this could, at the end of the day, look better in your Google Sheet, for instance. All right, perfect. I'm actually going to add a space after this so that we are good to go. Everything else can actually stay as is. And we also have the join method right here. So everywhere where you see this little tiny list icon, this is where you can apply basically this specific method. All right, I'm going to execute this step. And now you can see that this is also giving me 6 items right here, right? It's just as I would have prepared or would have expected. And then now we can actually work with that specific clean data. For instance, as you can see here, the top skills are now within one string. And this is something that we now can actually put right into our Google Sheet. And this is also the very last node that I am going to use. So I am going to add a sheet node right here, and then I'm going to look for a append row in sheet. And the settings are as usual. So you have a connection to your specific Google account, to your Google Sheets account. Then the resource is a sheet within a document. I'm going to append a row right here, and then I only have to choose the document, which is the niche opportunities. And this is exactly what I'm going to look for. And then the sheet that I want to interact with is just sheet 1. And then after this, I have the mapping column mode. All right, and now the last field that we need to take care of is the mapping column mode, and there are 2 options: the map each column manually, or you can do this automatically. Now, usually, if you wanted to do this manually, which is the more reliable solution, if you will, you would obviously just drag and drop the according fields from the previous prepare sheet data node, right? This was our set field node. Just drag and drop this right into this field, and this would work perfectly fine. However, what you can also do right now, I'm going to delete this, is to switch to the automatic mode, because what this is saying is that we need to make sure that the incoming data fields from the left-hand side are named the same as the columns in Google Sheets, right? And now you can also see why we used this step between this, right? Because now we are actually able, since the fields within our Google Sheet right here are named exactly the same, I can just switch to the automatic mode and no need to take care of all those mapping fields individually, because these are quite a couple of fields, right? I mean, there's are 15, 20 columns probably, and I can now just do this automatically. Perfect. So let's execute this and see what happens. So before I do this, I'm going to jump into my Google Sheet right here. I'm going to select everything that I have prepared so far. Let's take all the rows that we have right here, and I'm just going to delete everything so that it's completely empty, going back into n8n and execute the step. And now it's done. I have received 6 items, and jumping back into the Google Sheet. And now you can see that I get a really clean data table with all the parameters that I wanted to have, including all the analytic stuff, everything that was AI generated. I have a contact strategy, how I can approach this. I have the number of job counts, so how many jobs was this actually relevant, so that it's able to map the difference analysis to the specific job descriptions and titles that we have used before. And now you actually get a very clear picture and have a nice dashboard. Simple, but still extremely effective, how you can now find opportunities that were hidden before, probably. All right, so this is already it for today. I hope this was helpful. Thanks a lot for your attention. If you want to learn more about n8n and how you can effectively and efficiently work with this using AI, then you can also join my school community. This is completely free, and you will get access to all the assets that I have mentioned before. And within our classroom, we are going to cover n8n basics, agents, RAG within n8n, and whatnot, everything that you can imagine. I hope to hear from you, and thanks a lot for your attention, and see ya. Bye.